Ever since I was young, probably like 6 or so, I've been told that my generation's supposed to be one that changes the world. People say things like, and now it's up to you to change things, or the younger generation can fix this. It's seen in how a lot of times in legal codes, when things come up for review because they don't have permanent solutions, they just kick it down the line like 100 years or 30 years. Maybe the next generation or the next will have a better idea. And they're supposed to change everything. And that's not the same thing, but it's pretty similar, wouldn't you say? And obviously, that's a lot of pressure to put on a 6-year-old. Heck, I'm 15 and I feel it now more than ever. Like, have you seen the world? And the more I learn about the specific ways that the world is pretty messed up, honestly, the more I feel that pressure. Because I'm not qualified in any way, shape, or form. When people ask if you could change one thing about the world, what would it be? I always say something dumb because I panic because I think about all the things that need to change. I say like Europe is called erupt now or something stupid like that because I just can't decide. If it all came down to me, I'd fail spectacularly. But that's what happened to one of the main characters of the book that inspired this whole thing, Witchlight. It sparked this whole thought process that led to this video. Really good graphic novel. It's got really nice art. It's like a lot of nice curves and flowiness. It's got a good vibe. And it's one of those stories where it's like a series of like it's built on its character interactions. A lot of the stuff in the story doesn't move the plot forward, you could say, but it's still important to be there because the whole reason you're intrigued and interested is because of the two main characters and their bond growing and flourishing. And it really succeeds at that. I love it, 10 out of 10. I read it a bunch of times in quarantine because what else was I supposed to do back when I didn't have anything to do? It's just really nice. But I can talk about all the reasons I like Witchlight another time, you know what I mean? Today I'm here to talk about one of the central characters, Lalique, the one I was talking about earlier. Essentially, from what I can grasp from the story, because a lot of it is shown in flashbacks, but they're good enough to tell some information. What I can grasp, Lalique's village was under threat from someone, or like a tribe or a group, and Lalique was sent away to train to become a better witch, presumably because she was the only witch in the town. And when she came back to save her village, everyone was dead. Everyone was coated in this thick moss sheet that just sucked like, went all the way over them and just sucked out their life. Not everyone was dead. Leek's mother got just enough time after Leek came to talk to her a little bit, and then she got smothered by the moss as well. Leek tried to make the moss go on her, and it wouldn't. It wouldn't. She didn't want to stay alive if the rest of her family couldn't. But she couldn't do anything about it. The League blamed herself for it. This isn't explicitly stated, at least at first, but it wasn't exactly hidden either, you know what I mean? These feelings are showcased when she screams at Sanja, the other main character, for asking, "How could your mother do that to you?" For putting that much pressure on her. Forgiveness and expectations are the other main themes of the story, at least as far as I can see and want to analyze. There are definitely other things you could analyze, but I'm more interested in these. And not only forgiving others, but also forgiving yourself for your past mistakes. It's something that I've had difficulty with and still do, really. You know, the old thing where you try to go to sleep and you're still thinking about something that you did 6 years ago and everyone else involved has forgotten about or forgiven you for, but you're still living with that inside of you. You get it. You got it. An example of that comes when we meet the person who essentially wiped out Lalique's village. Her daughter got kidnapped, and they forced her to send the spell that wiped out Lalique's village, or else they would do horrible things to her daughter. And the saddest part is, her daughter died from the spell. It didn't spare her. She never forgave herself for it, and even invited Lalique to kill her in revenge. But she doesn't. In the words of Sanja,
She spent so long blaming herself that she doesn't have any room left for her.
expectations play another role when they meet Sanja's brother Lin. He's under pretty obvious familial pressure to be more traditionally masculine than he actually is. It's also pretty apparent how he doesn't really have an idea of how he wants to go about that, at least to me. And as soon as he sees Sanjay with a witch, he assumes that she's been kidnapped. He immediately jumps to save her and cuts Lalik's candle in half, killing her in the process. Don't worry, she comes back. She's okay. But I'd argue that was out of wanting to save his sister, but that was also out of him wanting to be more masculine than he actually is. You know what I mean? Where it's act now, like in a way where he just assumed he was correct and went directly to violence rather than trying to find another solution. We've seen how people generally feel about witches, and I'm sure the guard that he talks about has something to do with dealing with witches. Plus, we can tell from the section at the end that he definitely regrets it. He didn't want to do that. But due to the pressure that got put on him to be someone he's not, he was rash and took a life and potentially severed his relationship with his sister forever. We don't know. It's not revealed at the end of the book. There's no like long forward epilogue, but in the actual epilogue, Sandra says she's not ready to forgive him. And that's a completely fair reaction to someone killing your girlfriend. I wouldn't be quick to forgive. Jesse Zabarski, the author of Witchlight, said this in an interview for Sci-Fi.
For a long time, I struggled with forgiving people in my own life, and I think that how so many of our stories feature an irredeemable antagonist contributed to that mindset. Knowing when it's helpful or safe to forgive someone, or when it's unproductive, or even to what level to forgive, is a valuable and difficult skill to develop, but it's so necessary for all of us.
And I really liked how she added that part about when it's unproductive to forgive. As a counterpart to what she said, a lot of times in media when they do focus on forgiveness, it's forgiveness in any context. And that's fine, but it's not productive. It's not realistic. And not every story is trying to be realistic, and that's awesome. But I'm glad that this one did take a realistic approach to forgiveness. It's really nice. But the flip side, where you hold grudges for your whole life, is arguably less healthy. If you hold everyone to every little tiny thing they did to slight you, you'll end up alone. And that's not great. And I like how the book explores all that. All this to say, Witchlight is a good book, and you should go read it. It has really good art. I didn't even talk about half the reasons I actually really like it. There's a bunch of other stuff that I could have talked about in this video, but I wanted to keep it short, and I've been recording for almost 20 minutes, and, I... It's very good. Go check it out. I'll put links to Jesse Zabarski's social media, where you can buy the book, and the sci-fi interview that I talked about in the description. Don't forget to distrust authority. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.